You at home, of course, for watching. We'll see you next time for more Front Office Sports Today.
We have now learned the factual premise that the Lakers can win without LeBron James. So if you're the guy that was staging your own personal holdout, which I believe he was, and it backfires because the Lakers are 7-2, now you've got no choice but to really double down on the sciatica.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
If Jacoby Brissett was playing bad football for the past 3 weeks, Kyler Murray will be fully healthy, ready to go. Can't wait to get him on the field at Seattle and try to resurrect our season. Now you have Jacoby Brissett playing really good football. Putting Kyler Murray back in right now because he wasn't playing good football doesn't make any sense. The perfect storm here for Arizona. Hey, Kyler, going on IR takes the pressure off you. And Jacoby, you deserve the start. Go ahead and start, kid.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sauce Gardner heading over to the Indianapolis Colts as they go all in on this season and beyond. As I think a lot of people have been noting, that move does not just say, hey, we like what we have this year. It says we like what we have moving forward, and that includes Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for Dallas. What does that decision to bring in Quinnen Williams say? That means they're poorly ran, but we already knew that.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
And the amazing thing you're going to say about Tom Izzo for the jump is, Tom Izzo don't duck anybody. You want to hear who they have to play preseason? Kentucky, Duke, UNC, and Arkansas. This is not the Jimmy Boeheim Don't Leave New York Carrier Dome Classic. This guy plays people.
College basketball today. Oh.
Time decisions right here on SportsGrid on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh with you from the decisions desk as we look to load up and close out week 11 of this NFL season in Las Vegas, where the Raiders are 3.5-point underdogs to the Dallas Cowboys. Total in this one starting to drop a little bit. All the 49.5s are gone. I see 48.5 for this total everywhere that we are looking for Dallas tonight. This will be their first game since the trade deadline. A Cowboys team that, despite their record and chances to make the playoffs, opted to be buyers, bringing in, most notably, Quinnen Williams from the New York Jets. What type of results will this yield? Probably a team that is going to be a little bit better defensively, but not all the way back. The secondary remains banged up. Trevon Diggs remains on IR. And it's hard to imagine that the bye week will have allowed them to fix that side of the football all that much. Though perhaps the fix that they need is a matchup with Geno Smith. Geno came over to the Vegas Raiders and maybe not was positioned to be a franchise quarterback, but they thought he could give him an opportunity to make the playoffs, make some noise, be live within the AFC West. He has 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Geno Smith has been terrible. It's been the worst year for Geno since he returned as a starter in this league. Though I'll tell you, there could be some value on Geno Smith. Tonight, we will get into all of the props, the side, and the total for Monday Night Football. Best bets here from our team in just a little bit. But I mentioned the AFC West, and there are a number of markets to catch you up on this Monday as we have a new strong favorite in the AFC West, which is the Denver Broncos. The Broncos upset the Kansas City Chiefs, a 4.5-point underdog at close, knock off KC, and reopen at nearly minus 300 to win the AFC West. The Chiefs now at some shops with the third best odds to win this division. Kansas City with significantly shorter odds to go out there and miss the playoffs as opposed to win their own division. And that not only then knocks KC off their perch as in terms of the AFC West, no longer favorites to win the Super Bowl. That, last year's champion. The Philadelphia Eagles, who get the job done on a Sunday night against the Detroit Lions. And they get the job done in the same fashion that they did last week in Green Bay. Defense, defense, and more defense. The Philadelphia Eagles just put together what I think is unquestionably the best two-game stretch any defense has played in the NFL this season, holding the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions to 16 combined points, neither team touching 10 against Philadelphia. And Detroit was lucky they got to 9 as the final 3 were handed to them by an insane decision from Nick Sirianni, one of a few crazy decisions that were made by Sirianni. However, despite the win, the record, and the status, the Philadelphia Eagles are the team who leaves this game and somehow maybe this week with more questions than any. Local Philadelphia analysts, reporters suggesting that Hurts is decidedly the problem for these offensive woes and that there is frustration in the building. There has seemingly been frustration all year long for Philly. We will see how much this continues and how much they can win in the face of that frustration. I will note for Detroit, this loss here sends them into somewhat similar status as Kansas City. Not a perfect one-to-one, as the Lions have the second best odds to win the North, and since they actually host Green Bay on their remaining schedule, that gap isn't all too far, but they're in third place. 11 weeks into the season, 10 games into their year, this is a team who is in third place. And we have talked about it last week during Kevin 7 about the playoff picture through win totals. There are 8 contenders in the NFC. It is still expected that the odd man out will be the Chicago Bears, the current first place Chicago Bears. But Detroit is dropping, projected now to maybe be the 7th seed in the playoffs, where they may end up going to LA and taking on the new MVP favorite of this league. Matthew Stafford, inexplicably, is down to plus 135 to win league MVP. That number perhaps shifted through where the action is coming in. Perhaps all that matters is Stafford trending towards a 45 passing touchdown season. Maybe even I don't think a 50 passing touchdown season, but maybe. Because he didn't play well. Not at all in that game against the Seattle Seahawks. Rams did win, though, and I've talked about it as much as anybody. Winning is step 1 when it comes to being league MVP. Take a look at the market right now. Stafford, May. Josh Allen, big win. Jonathan Taylor and the Colts, the push for the 1 seed. You might say, what is Mahomes doing up there? He is Patrick Mahomes. He's also not going to win the award. But he is Patrick Mahomes. Even Jalen Hurts and Jalen has had moments to really crash through this race. He has lost those chances over the last 2 weeks. But even despite that, he sits 40-1, 6th best odds to win league MVP. It gives you an idea how important winning is. And Stafford getting the win over Sam Darnold has now shifted him as MVP favorite across multiple sports books. Where are we betting tonight if we're not betting the NFL? Maybe the NBA, which gets back a bit of a surprising return. I know it was on its way, but whenever it actually was going to happen, it wasn't going to feel real. The reports are that Paul George, appropriately, will go against his former team, the LA Clippers, in his first game this season for the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly a 5.5-point favorite here against LA. Paul George will not be playing against Joel Embiid in this matchup. Interesting to see how Nick Nurse handles Paul George's return. He is going to be starting tonight for Philly. The minutes, though, still expected to be restricted. Other key areas on this slate tonight, Miami and New York in South Beach after the Knicks beat the Heat in group play. Now take the trip back to Miami, where the Heat are a slight favorite. The Cavs host Milwaukee and Giannis, who are trying to find themselves in a bit of a bounce-back spot here after the Lakers really rolled them up over the weekend. A strong Luka Doncic performance. The top seed right now in the Eastern Conference, Detroit Pistons, go once again without Cade Cunningham, as Cade Cunningham is dealing through some injuries, and seemingly the Pistons right now can rely on former Iona Gael, Tanis Jenkins, to get them through a lighter part of their schedule. The Pistons are red hot. They've won 9 in a row. They are searching for their 10th straight. College basketball also could call you to the slate tonight. We have, checking in right now, a few ranked spots. Iowa State against Stonehill, laying just under 40. Wisconsin at 25 against SIU Edwardsville. You've got Tennessee laying 26.5 against Rice. Gonzaga late night with 35.5 against Southern Utah. Newly ranked NC State will kick off the ranked action against VCU. They'll do so as an 11.5-point favorite. If you are interested, of course, there is some action over on the NHL slate tonight. Connor McDavid is in Buffalo against the Sabres. Alex Ovechkin and the Caps at home against the Kings. We focus in, though, on the NFL. Raiders, Cowboys. How do we bet this game tonight to close out Week 11? We'll let you know after a quick break right here on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
but the expectation is to be a 9-8 football
So
team.
let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away 2 of the few good guys they
But
have.
they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs past the bye and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those
That's
are some
crazy.
big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you right here on a Monday night. Now, I like to get the people in the mix early. We have a lot of time to dive through this game between Dallas and Vegas. And with the 7 o'clock tip in the NBA, I think we wait. I think we wait for Raiders, Cowboys, full breakdowns and best bets. They are coming. I really like what I've got for the people tonight. I really do. I also like to get a little bit of help. But an NBA slate tonight that kind of tangy. We get the host of both pro basketball today and college basketball today, Coach James Young, with us here on a Monday night, a busy man. So, JY, I appreciate the time, my friend. How we feeling?
Man, I feel like everybody's getting hurt. I mean, I may have to walk a little bit slow. By the way, shout out to the Cowboys. Can y'all lose? Because the Jets need a better pick in the second round of the 2026 NFL Draft. That's my football talk for the night.
That's close to jar-worthy, but you know what? We're going to let that one slide. JY, I want to start with this. Pistons-Pacers tonight. 11-2 versus 1-12. This should be a smash spot for Detroit. But what you also have here is, I think right now, somebody who's invested in Mark Daigneault winning Coach of the Year, early season, what feels like maybe the only threat to Daigneault. Now, he's going to have to probably still get 70 wins. That's easier said than done. But J.B. Bickerstaff, just so everybody knows, Bickerstaff's the favorite. It's then J.J. Redick. I'm sorry, I don't think that's likely this year. Mitch Johnson of the Spurs has, respectfully, no chance to win the award. That is a bizarre price, in my opinion. And then Daigneault, tied with Spoelstra, who's also live. But J.B. Bickerstaff, JY, has this Pistons team, who's not the healthiest in the league, going for a 10th consecutive win tonight.
No, they're playing great basketball. Now, remember, Kate Cunningham is out tonight. The line was 10.5 and has dropped to 8.5. 8 does not matter. I'm taking Detroit. One thing you say about JB, K-Dub, he does a great job in the regular season. It's his postseason, particularly when he sees the Knicks, where you start to get a little bit nervous what JB does. But Kate Cunningham, to me, has shown that he's a top 15 player in the league. You have, obviously, Jalen Duren getting you basically almost 20 points a game in a double-double. But tonight, no Cade, no Tobias Harris, no Jaden Ivey, no Marcus Sasser. Ton of injuries versus the Pacers team that's got Furphy out, Halliburton out. You know, Bennett Matthews playing tonight, but no Aaron Naismith, no Obi Toppin. So a lot of injuries there. I would still lay the points because, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana's given up 129 plus in the last 3 games, including 152. They're struggling right now. But I will say this. I know we bring up J.B. Bickerstaff, and we talk about coaching here. We need to talk a little bit about what Adelman's doing in Denver. They're playing really good basketball. They're at the top. I'm shocked that he's not up higher. They have won, I think, 7 games in a row. But that's someone to watch out for, because if Denver, a team that was high on, can get up there and be that 2 seed right behind, obviously OKC, he could find himself to be in play as well.
I think it's a super sharp look, JY. Not something that I had considered myself, but immediately it clicks for me. I understand the price is low because they feel that Jokic will get any and all credit. And while that is true, this is a guy who's getting his first real shot, at the job. If he wins 60 games, it's on the board. And this Denver team is rolling right now, 10-2, 7 in a row. Jokic also, again, by the way, out of control. He was started the year super low scoring. So then he gave you 55 against the Clippers. Zubac's a good defensive center. He shot 18 of 23 in that game, by the way. 55 points on 23 shots. Look, I really, really like Cade Cunningham, but Cade the other day scored, 45 on 46? It's just out of control by Nikola Jokic, man. He is having just a phenomenal season. JY, some of the other games at 7 o'clock tonight. Cleveland, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, LA. Any action for you in some of these games here?
No, there's not much action. I'm going to go to 7:30 with the Knicks taking on the Miami Heat. And lines out right now are the Knicks are getting 1.5 points. Now, you got to remember, folks, no OG Anunoby because of the hamstring injury. Watch out, folks. That's the same I don't know if it's the same hamstring that he pulled in the playoffs versus Indiana, so they will tread lightly with him. No, obviously, Jalen Brunson. But no Tyler Hero, no Bam Adebayo. And the Knicks kind of looked a little bit better in the last time out, even with OG being out. Obviously, we're not, sham sanity. I don't know if Larry Shamer's going to give you 36 tonight. But I'm going to take the Knicks plus the 1.5 on the road. I think they squeak one out. And if you look for a prop, look for Karl Anthony Towns to go over 3.5 assists. And folks, it's plus money. Now, you can sit there and say to me, they're number 1 in regards to giving up the lowest amount of assists, Miami Heat. But over 7 out of his last 8 games, And the offense is running through Cat. If you think about how Sacramento ran their offense through Sabonis, Cat's starting to buy in. Put him at the pinch, bring someone away, run your split screen action, and find cutters. Cat over 3.5 assists, and it's plus money tonight.
I don't mind that look at all there, JY. Also, I do want to, I know this is probably a little random because it's been going on for a while, but shout out Karl Anthony Towns for actually being one of the best rebounders in the league. He was that early in his career in Minnesota. Gobert comes over. The numbers look different. He's averaging over 12.5 rebounds. Last year, he averaged 12.8. Like, he has a double-double in every game still so far to start the year, JY? Oh, did it snap last game?
It snapped last game, but the one to watch for...
No, it didn't, did it?
No, I think he did. But someone to watch out for, Kevin, really quick. Mitchell Robinson, 7.5 rebounds. The guy is averaging, like, you want to talk about jokers, like scoring prowess? Like, what Mitch is doing on the boards is nuts. He had 9 offensive rebounds. I don't care what your Dennis Haslam sent to Kalon Ware. That big boy cannot block him out. He may go over it again tonight.
I will say, I think Miami's live because of Udonis Haslem. He still has impact. Just a hand-up thing. I thought Cat had a double-double in every game this year because I just checked the rebounds column. He had an 8-point game against Milwaukee. And I think that was a game I bet him in.
Yes, to go over his points prop. Yes.
All right, to be honest, I don't know if Cat should be mad at me or if I should be mad at Cat, but someone somewhere gets 100% blame pie. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get you set up for the rest of the NBA. College Board's got a couple of options. We'll see what Coach James Young is feeling after the break. It is Game Time Decisions. We are live with you right here on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away 2 of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed to buy and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15.5, like Jack Besh this morning was 11.5, and his number got bet up to 15.5. Tyler Lockett was 16.5 and bet down to 15.5. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions back with you here on a Monday night. We are going to talk about the Michael Penix injury to the Atlanta Falcons, what you could be expecting from Kirk Cousins, as that was really the biggest injury I think we saw over this Sunday in the NFL. But we also want to continue to get you set up here for the NBA tonight. We've got our guy, Coach James Young, with us here, host of both pro and college basketball today on SportsGrid. JY, I do have a college question I want to get to, but I'll do that in a second. Just any other NBA picks we didn't cover for you here on tonight's slate?
All right. First off, the bingo word of the night. Sandro Mamukelashvili. I probably butchered that.
All right, I think we got there.
Mamu, I just call him Mamu. The great Mamu, over 7.5 points tonight. It's gotten itself up to 8 over 5 straight games. He shoots a 3 or scores at the rim. Well, he's playing against the Pelicans, and they defend neither of them well. So the Pelicans, this game may get out of hand. That's why I also may like the Raptors minus a point. So look at Mamu to go over his points prop. Also, Tyrese Maxey over 3.5 rebounds tonight. Over 8 straight games. Clippers without Bradley Beal. They're 25th in rebounds allowed to point guards, and they are in the middle of the pack and shooting the ball from deep. Long shot, long rebound, lead the break. Tyrese Maxey over 3.5 rebounds tonight.
All right, now, Jay, I want to ask you about something in the college game, and I know they're not playing tonight. This is tomorrow, but I don't know if we'll get the chance to talk before the game. Duke hosts Kansas in the Champions Classic, one of the best events we get every year, early college season. It's a rotating door of Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, and Michigan State. And Duke, Kansas being the matchup this year was perfect because it was going to give us Boozer versus Peterson. Darren Peterson is out. And I know college can come with, when it comes to injuries, things can be ambiguous. But Bill Self was asked about Darren Peterson's injury, and he looked as unsure as the people asking him. Now, again, maybe he was playing close to the vest, but I think with Peterson's guaranteed to be a top 5 pick in the NBA, maybe, his camp are wondering, are we going to rush back here? Maybe I'm overreading, JY. I know you have people throughout the college game. I don't know if you spoke to anyone on the situation, but my, antennas went up on the Darren Peterson Kansas situation. I'll just say it. I think it's on the board he doesn't play another game as a Jayhawk. I know that sounds crazy, but that's where I'm at.
I would agree with you 100%, especially with the way that Darren came out and played. Particularly, I know they lost that game to North Carolina, but he was sensational, going over 20 points, getting about 25 points in that matchup. So when you look at it, are you going to risk the fact of right now, if you take all the freshmen, right, all of them, Peterson, Boozer, DeBanza, Amat, Pete, you put them all together. If you're asking me right now who I'm taking number 1 in the draft, based off of what I've seen, it's Peterson. So if he's going to be possibly the number 1 pick, why are you going to rush it? I feel like we went through this. Kevin, I may be wrong. I felt like we went through this with Kyrie, his freshman year at Duke, where they were like uber careful bringing him back. So I felt like he missed a chunk of time during his freshman season. So when you look at it, and let's be honest, folks, like we're looking at Kansas, and we're not really talking about it. And folks, the kid in his 2 games, I'm looking up right now, 21.5 points per game and 25 minutes. He had 22 points in his first matchup and played 3 minutes in the second half. Then he goes 25 against UNC. So if I am the Peterson camp and I put that on the board, I'm going to make everybody chase me for the number 1 pick. I got my stuff on board, including my big matchup. So to me, I would not be surprised if Kevin is spot on. I haven't talked to anybody, but I would not be shocked if they didn't rush him back, especially if Kansas underperforms and we don't think they're going to be a team to make a deep run in March.
And I'll add to that point in just my kind of preseason evaluation of Kansas. Look, I've actually bet against Darren Peterson in each of his games. Finished 1-1, as did he, against the number in those spots. They are, in my eyes, reliant on him being as special as he is in order to be anywhere near their expectations. Now, there's a team who was only preseason ranked 19th, though, with Peterson. I can't imagine Bill Self missing the tournament, but if they lose Peterson, that's going to be a really tough blow. JY, great as always. The latest out of Atlanta. Big weekend for the Falcons. What happened and what's next, we'll let you know.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from my. And again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
but the expectation is to be a 9-8 football
So
team.
let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they
But
have.
they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
Two.
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those
That's
are some
crazy.
big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. We are live on SportsGrid on a Monday night, and we will get to Monday Night Football in about 10 minutes. But there was a big injury yesterday that caught me a bit by surprise in one of the wildest games, and there will be a ripple effect on this one. To talk more about Michael Penix and a potential season-ending injury is Kevin Knight. You can find him on Twitter at Falcoholic. Does an excellent job covering all things Falcons for the Falcoholic. Kevin, it's great to have you on here. It feels a little weird being named Kevin. I don't know if actually I've interviewed anyone named Kevin, which I'm now realizing in real time, and you can see I'm going through that. What is your just reaction to the idea that Michael Penix might miss the rest of this Falcons season?
It's catastrophic. I mean, this was, even in a lost season, which it clearly is, even before Penix's injury at this point, you know, that we were looking at 7-1 probably to be realistically getting into the playoffs. And if you've watched this team play, that opportunity seemed very, very slim at best. But
yeah,
this was an opportunity at least to get Penix more reps. And I think he was really having one of the best games of his career in the first half. You know, we saw him 13 of 16. I mean, in a game where Bryce Young was having a great day, Penix was arguably, you know, right there with him, if not, you know, even having better stats in the first half. Obviously, this injury is crushing for the Falcons, and given what the injury is, which at this point the belief is it's a partially torn ACL in Penix's healthy knee, not the one that he's had repaired. It's catastrophic both for this season and for the future, because I mean, how much trust can you have in Penix's health at this point? I mean, it's bad.
That I think has to be the scariest piece of this whole thing. Penix, I mean, part of his journey, as you know, was the injuries in college. He'll be 26 next year when the season begins. I would assume he'd be healthy for week number 1, but how much time is he going to have? And if losses start to mount, Kevin, am I wrong in wondering if he'll have the same head coach next year?
I mean, at this point, you know, my opinion is that you can't bring Raheem Morris back at this stage. I mean, but we'll see what the team decides to do. I know Arthur Blank has great fondness for Raheem, and Look, I mean, the guy's absolutely a class act. You want to root for Raheem, and he was someone that I thought deserved another chance at a head coaching opportunity. I'm really glad he was able to get that chance with the Falcons, but it hasn't gone to plan ever since he got here.
Yeah.
We've had a number of issues. The team just looks sloppy and disorganized, and that carries back to last year. We obviously have the Kirk Cousins Penix decision, which it was a strange, I guess to say the least, turn of events last season. It was a needle they had to try to thread. They didn't really thread it, and now it's looking like you spent all this money and you spent this top 10 pick, and maybe you still don't have a quarterback. And I just can't think of a worse way for this to have gone for the Atlanta Falcons.
I think that is what is such a scary situation for Atlanta, is that first round pick is not in their possession. So it was a playoffs or bust year, whether that was fair or not, just because of that move. The playoffs feel totally impossible. Even if Michael Penix was healthy, that might even probably feel the case, even if they held on and beat Carolina yesterday. And it's all just stacking up the wrong direction. I think the interesting thing is if you fire Morris, Bonnell's got to go. And now if we're doing a whole house cleaning, I don't know how many GMs and coach combinations. And I like Michael Penix. Like, I actually think he's a fun quarterback to watch. Not many are going to sign up for a 26-year-old with bad knees. That is that seems to be the situation here for Atlanta. So do you think then the hope in the building is that Kirk Cousins is going to, the Saints and the Jets, they're going to be favorites in both of those games? That this team can stack wins and save jobs?
I mean, to me, I think the focus is obviously on the future. I know that these guys aren't going to quit. I wouldn't expect them to do so. I know Raheem Morris certainly has his fans in the building, and he's popular among the players. But I think this has been going off the rails for a while, and this 5-game losing streak, you just don't see guys recover from this. So I'm not sure there's a realistic chance. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he was supposed to be your ace in the hole, that like even if Penix struggled, or maybe if he did get hurt, that you've got the best backup quarterback in the NFL here to carry you the rest of the way. And I mean, it was such a huge downgrade. Every time Kirk Cousins has come on the field, this offense has been basically unwatchable. And Cousins had almost the entire second half to get anything done. All he could manage was a field goal drive where they started in field goal range, and it's a dire situation. I personally think, the best option for the Falcons is hopefully that Penix is healthy for you next year. You're eyeing that week 1 return, but this is valuable developmental time. The Penix's issue is the mechanics, right? We got to get these mechanics settled down. We got to get a real offensive scheme in here. I mean, don't get me started on Zach Robinson, but it's, there's a lot of issues here in Atlanta, but I think ultimately, I think you have to sell this now as if you're going to attract this GM and this head coach that are worth their salt, they got to have the flexibility to, be able to do what they got to do here. And I sincerely hope that Penix is able to get healthy and prove himself next year. I know a lot of people have been questioning his play, but I mean, to me, I thought he looked like a what you would expect a first-year quarterback to look like. I think he had showed some things. I think he'd had some bad games, but more good than bad. I was excited to see where this was going to go. But to attract these candidates, like you said, I think, they have to have the flexibility to, not necessarily 2026, because there's not really any viable options to get another quarterback. At 2027, these guys have to have the option to move on if this doesn't work out. And that's the saddest thing for me, because it's just kind of out of Penix's hands at this point, with the way this team has kind of fallen off the cliff. And I just feel for him. It's just terrible luck, and it obviously the franchise is hurting from this as well. But you wonder if Penix is going to get a fair shake now with a new staff.
And I don't mean to bring up the doomsday of it all, Kevin, but you'll have an idea of it again, knowing this team. When guys get in and they're not working with a full chest, they try and find ways to recoup assets. And that sometimes then means Drake London, Bijan Robinson. You get a first-round pick back for Bijan, which I don't know. Who knows sometimes with the trade market, right? Jalen Phillips went for a third-round pick. Feels like he should have been worth a first. Other guys go for first-round picks. Like, he's not even good at football. But is it crazy to wonder if these guys could come available in the offseason?
I mean, to me, I think, for the right price, you have to listen to offers. I would view, Drake and Bijan as foundational pieces that you're not moving. And I'm sure the Falcons will say that no matter if they want to move them or not,
right,
at this stage. But to me, I think those guys are sort of, you're trying to keep them around. If you get a Godfather type of offer for these guys, then I get it. We know Bijan's going to be looking for, or Bijan eventually is going to be looking for a big contract. Drake is probably going to get a record-setting contract. I think he deserves it. I think pretty much anyone else might be available, and I think Jesse Bates is one that makes a lot of sense for them to try to move, given his timeline. Maybe AJ Terrell. And it's sad because we think about this Falcons offense, but the defense has been the one that was really carrying the load this year, and you would hate to see that get broken apart here. But like you said, they're low on draft capital. The cap space is not in good shape either. Somehow, some way, you got to get assets in here and attract these guys to come in.
Other than that, things are great. Other
than that, everything's going fine. Yeah, how are you?
Other than the lame duck head coach, no draft capital, no salary cap, and an injured franchise quarterback. Falcons, baby. Kevin, we really, really appreciate it. At Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter. The Falcoholic does an excellent job covering this team. We'll be right back here talking Monday Night Football after the break.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
Two.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live here on a Monday night football. We've made the people wait a little bit. We made them wait a little bit to fully get into this game. Now, we've had some good stuff. But if you're looking for Raiders-Cowboys action, you're like, hey, let's get some picks on the board. Okay, we will. But not alone. We'll do it with the help of the one and only Tom Vecchio. Tom Vecchio, great to see you here on a Monday night. The most famous mystery man we've ever had, a.k.a. the only one who's ever screamed from the mountaintops, I was the mystery man. Then again, I don't know how many other mystery men would like to take claim to some of the picks we've seen in that slot. But
Fair.
we appreciate it, and we love it, and we're looking for some listen, Tom will put his name behind any pick that he gives out, which we respect. So Raiders, Cowboys, Tom, what are you putting your name behind?
The under 49.5. There's nothing drawing me to say, yeah, the Raiders are going to go out there and score 24 points. And, where the line is, it suggests, the Cowboys would win this game, 27-24 as the line was 50.5 to put us over to 51. There's nothing drawing me to say that the Raiders are going to score tonight more than 17 points, 14 points. I think the Cowboys can win this game 24-17. I don't think they'll be under pressure or threat at any point. The Cowboys defense is sneaky getting better after the trade deadline, getting a couple players back, or not getting back, but players into their lineup. And the Raiders offense is abysmal. How can we trust them to do their part in this game? The Cowboys could win this 30-10, and I don't think we should be shocked about it.
I would flatly be stunned if that happened, because I think the Raiders offense is in a nice little bounce back spot here. I expect the Raiders offense to have some success, especially through the air. And I think Geno Smith in the bounce back spot here will do his part. And I will probably walk up a few steps of a ladder on this one. But let's put some best bets on the board tonight. Sam's got Jake Ferguson over the long reception. Chris has Brock Bowers anytime touchdown. He may get 2, he may get 3, because Geno Smith is going over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Geno Smith, as we take a look, first of all, against Dallas, 7 of 9 opposing quarterbacks have thrown 2 passing touchdowns. But this isn't about them. It is about Geno, who was coming off of a game with no passing touchdowns. No surprise, they only scored 7 points against one of the best defenses in the league, the Denver Broncos. Geno Smith, typically when he throws 0, the next game throws 3. He's done that 2 of 3 times this season. He's actually done that in 6 of his last 7 games, where he threw 0. The next game he threw 3. We need 2. Since Geno Smith has returned as a starting quarterback, 2022, he is coming off a game of 0. He's thrown at least 2, 10 of 12 instances. Tom, bounce back spots, my friend, can be undeniable. And that's what I believe we have here tonight for Geno Smith over the 1.5.
I mean, that's certainly the case.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how much of a debate you want to get into about some of those numbers, but what Geno did with an offensive line in Seattle is vastly different of the lack of offensive line he has with the Raiders, which is terrible. So him bouncing back and having 2 great receivers at the time with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf really doesn't matter to me when he has Brock Bowers and who else? Because it'd be great to see Gentry involved in the passing game. His line has been bent up from 16.5 to 18.5. But Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett, Jack Bech, these players don't inspire any amount of confidence for me in the passing game. And if the Cowboys can do even somewhat of work to eliminate or decrease Brock Bowers' role, I don't know who Geno Smith's going to be throwing the ball to.
Well, you know me. I love a good, fun debate. And if you would like to invalidate anything he did while he is in Seattle, that is fine with me. No touchdowns against the Chargers. He threw 3 the following week against Washington, which is basically the second worst pass defense in football this year. And Bowers was not healthy for that game. And then he had no passing touchdowns in a game. They were shut out against Kansas City. And that was followed up in a game where Brock Bowers caught 3 touchdowns and he threw 4. So it has happened in 2 of the 3 instances this year. The only time it didn't, they played Tennessee, and the Titans were so lifeless, they just basically didn't play football in the game. And he still put 1 on the board. So that's this bad Raiders group. That's this season, and that's a bounce-back spot that we've seen play off and get laddered up, Tom. Does that work for you?
That works for me. And then if you would have come with just that, I think that would be totally fine. But, bringing in an irrelevant sample size, like it doesn't
It's not
matter.
irrelevant.
So
It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant.
Is irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant.
It is. So I
it's
could
not
say,
irrelevant.
So
it's about no. It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant.
I like
no. If you're going to call it irrelevant, hold on. If you're going to call it irrelevant, I'm going to tell you why it's not irrelevant. Obviously, it's not irrelevant to look at how a guy responds off of bad games. right? When you
but
look
we're
at
dealing
players
with
at
a
this
different team, a different offensive coordinator, and a different offensive line, that matters. I like CeeDee Lamb's touchdown prop tonight. I'm on his touchdown prop tonight. Me looking back to multiple years ago when he scored 11 touchdowns in 15 games and his touchdown rate was through the roof doesn't matter for what we're getting from him this season. The only thing that matters from him for this season is his target share, his red zone target share, and his end zone target share with a new offense coordinator and a new offense. So looking back to previous seasons with a different coach and a different offense coordinator, that's irrelevant. His touchdown rate is different this year than it was in years past.
Tom, and listen, at the end of the day, you can deem things irrelevant to how you want to cap, right? But if people are interested in betting on the talent that is CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb has a 4-game streak of not catching a touchdown, and I go back and look, has CeeDee Lamb gone 5 games without a touchdown in his career? That is relevant. Because that's betting on the talent to win out. Because eventually talent wins out. You can look at touchdown rate all you want. And that's why I also acknowledge 7 of the 9 quarterbacks that have played Dallas have thrown multiple passing touchdowns. You can mention multiple factors there, but they are all relevant. To act like it is not relevant that Geno Smith consistently does not go games with a 0 passing touchdown and not respond at a high level is relevant. It speaks to the player and their ability to bounce back and not say, what have I seen last?
I mean, to each his own. That's the only response I have. He bounces back this season 2 out of 3 times. He does that.
Correct. And he bounces back as a starter. I'm worried about his Jet starts. Maybe I should pull those up too. Game time decisions on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away 2 of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs past the bye and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Here on Game Time Decisions, where we hunt for the most relevant and maybe even irrelevant information that we can give the people. Tom, we went through the best bets here. Does anything stand out to you about either of Chris or Sam's best bet, backing a couple of tight ends with Jake Ferguson over the long catch and Bowers for an anytime touchdown?
Well, Jake Ferguson I've liked really for the majority of this year, and his role is consistent. And what we get from the Raiders defense is nothing to be worried about overall. So seeing Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb and Javonte have a big game, I think is fully on the table. I don't think Ferguson, Javonte, Pickens, and Lamb, I don't think all four of them will have a big game. So I'm totally on board with buying into one player. I want to lean into this guy, lean into that guy, and 3 of the 4 will come through. I think that's a very reasonable way to go about it. Also, again, I'm expecting the under tonight. So I'm expecting the Cowboys to score 24, 27-ish points overall. Like if all 4 go over, then the game would be flying over at this point. But leaning into the player that you like is totally fine.
How do you feel about Brock Bowers overall in the game? Settled in on Denver against Denver. He was, in this number 1 target role following Jacoby Myers being dealt. They only ended up targeting him 3 times, and it was 1 reception for 31 yards, albeit, but still, Brock Bowers tonight, the books aren't scared off of. They still post him with a receptions prop at 6.5.
Right, and I saw a quote earlier in the week. I forget who it was from. I don't know if it was from Pete Carroll, but they said, they need to do a better job of getting him involved, or whatever the quote was, implying the 1 catch for 31 yards, which I believe was on the opening drive of that Thursday night game, if I remember correctly. And they had nothing after. It's like, yeah, they need to get him involved, but it's also just from a team perspective, they have no one else to throw the ball to. We're not getting a consistent amount of talent and production out of Trey Tucker. What we get from Tyler Lockett is going to be very up and down. What we get from Genty in the passing game is encouraging of what we've seen in recent games, but it's not consistent at all. So going to Brock Bowers, I think, in any capacity is a reasonable way to go, just because when we're dealing with a player that can realistically maintain a 40% target share going forward, there's no time to not buy into him.
The interesting thing with Bowers, as you just kind of look through what he's done in his career, the receptions at 6.5, the yardage, in the lower 70s, they really do go hand in hand. There are not many games, 7 catches, 60 yards, nor are there games, though, of 5 catches, 80 yards. It's around as a tight end, right? About 10-ish yards a catch or so. So I didn't think either one presented more value than the other. I think the question becomes, if you're someone who's interested in but looking for, the grander outcomes, the larger end of that spectrum, Tom, I think, do you take him for 100 yards? Do you take him for 10 catches? I think a receptions ladder would be a little bit more tempting for Bowers in the game tonight.
Well, I always lean for yards before receptions, just because they're easier to get than receptions.
But it's reflected in the payout.
Right. So obviously you're balancing the odds of a plus 110, plus 140 as you move up and up versus a plus 150 as the first step compared to plus 110 or whatever it might be. So you have to balance those things. And that's just how you want to approach things. But if you were to ask me, at no point, any game for the remainder of the season, Brock Bowers should have no fewer than 10 targets per game. That's just how the Raiders offense needs to be operating. They need to be operating with a minimum of 15-ish carries for Genty, 4 or 5 targets in the passing game for him, and 10 targets at a minimum for Brock Bowers. And then you filter in the other guys here or there, whatever it might be. But 12, 15 ish targets for Bowers is very, very probable. So if you are willing to buy into yards and or receptions, there's no better time to do it than now, when we're getting the best price on him theoretically. Because if this role is sticky for him at 74, next week it's going to be 79. And instead of going up to 80, you lost the 110. Now you're the plus 110. Now you're paying minus 110 on it.
Yeah, it's really interesting just looking through Bowers. He has 4 career games, 2 last year, 2 this year, with over 100 yards. He actually cleared 125 in 3 of those games and had 11 or more catches. Let's see, is that right? No, 10 or more catches in 3 of those games. This week, this season, the opener against New England, he actually finished 5 for 103. That kind of the outlier performance there for Bowers. So 10 receptions is like 4-1. 100 yards is like 2-1, rough kind of ballpark stuff. Tom, appreciate it as always. Best of luck with the card tonight.
Let's hit the under and a CeeDee Lamb touchdown, and we'll be all good.
Try and avoid all those irrelevant stats that I'm sure are around the corner with whatever you do next. We'll talk to the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, here on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
Two.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed the by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We are here on SportsGrid, and Tom on the way out, and we have a fun back and forth. One final shot was, I guess you didn't want to talk to me about the struggling Eagles offense, and I actually am fascinated by the whole thing, but little did Tom know, we may have all of the explanation we need in our next guest, which is the pro football doc, Dr. David Chow. Doc, it is great to see you, as always. SixScore.com, a fantastic day yesterday, giving people the injury information and analysis that they need. But, Doc, the injury that I am referring to, or the reason why the Eagles' offense isn't good, because this has been going on for a frustratingly long time, when Lane Johnson is out there, things are not great. And it seems to be that Lane Johnson may not be out there for a little while now.
No question. And, the Philadelphia game last night was our 3-star guaranteed money back winner of the week. And so we were happy with the outcome in the end. But in any case, before we get to Lane Johnson, the Eagles were clearly attacking the Detroit Lions secondary. I mean, you can say they were trying to feed, and we talked Sunday morning, feed A.J. Brown the ball. No, they were attacking the secondary deficiencies of Detroit. But the win kind of equalized that a little bit. And you're right about Lane Johnson being out, and then late Cam Jurgens left the game. That's how they didn't get their tush push. And, Sirianni put the game in a little bit of pseudo jeopardy there, right? But in any case, Lane Johnson, I'm amazed that he played. I'm amazed that he came back to finish the previous game after he got rolled up on. And unfortunately, at this point, the Eagles are going to have to say, let's get him back in time for the playoffs. That's sort of the deal. And that also didn't help the Eagles yesterday, losing Lane Johnson and then Cam Jurgens. That's two of their best players. I mean, obviously they still have Mailata and Landon Dickerson, but big deal for the Eagles, yes.
So another NFC contender, though, that lost a big part of their offense was the Green Bay Packers. Josh Jacobs all of a sudden exits in that game. Now they're playing the Giants. They are the better team, and they handle business all in all. But the reports from, elsewhere seemed a little muddy on Josh Jacobs. This is why we come to you. What are your current expectations for the Packers running back?
Well, to be honest, by video, we didn't see a lot. And sometimes we take that as good news. We don't see a lot, right? And when they said no structural damage, but week to week, I was like, well, how do you go week to week if there's no structural damage? But then Matt LaFleur later today said contusion and a chance to play this week. That makes us feel better because if it's a contusion, you're not week to week. To clarify that chance to play contusion, then we believe no structural damage. So hopefully, fingers crossed there.
Yeah.
And obviously, Jordan Love finished the game after the big hit on his left shoulder.
We saw some other quarterback injuries appear over this Sunday slate. Most notable being Michael Penix, Doc. And this is the stuff that I really always am fascinated to see where you land on, because with Penix, I don't know, fair or unfair, people won't only worry about the fact that he's now injured for potentially this season. It's that it could be a re-injury. And sometimes people believe in injury prone. I know, though, you have a lot of thoughts on this. What do you think this injury means for Michael Penix?
Well, glass half full, glass half empty. That's kind of the Michael Penix situation. Let me give you the good news. In no way, shape, or form do I believe, based on video, that he suffered a new injury to his ACL just by looking at it. Did he aggravate his PCL from earlier this season in the bone bruise? Yes. And we've talked about aggravation of injury, meaning you're out longer. But why are they talking about partial ACL now? Sometimes when you come off of ACL surgery, most of the graft heals, but some of it doesn't completely. It's functional. The rope is doing its job and it's functional, but maybe not as tight as it can be. Then when you add to it a PCL, where the knee is now shifted back and the knee shifts forward a little too much, that becomes a little too much. And think of it this way: 4 legs on a bar stool. I said this in my podcast today. One leg a little off, the bar stool rocks a little bit, doing the visual for you, but you still sit on it, you're still fine. But if that second leg is a little bit off, that bar stool really starts to rock and roll. So what I think Atlanta is now doing is saying, look, if he is our future, we know we don't fix the PCL, but is it worth looking at the ACL and having a surety that he's good to go and, quote, not injury prone for next season? I think that's the process that they're going to. I think at this point, it's unlikely he returns to play this season. Look at what happened to Brock Purdy with a week 1 injury, week 2 off, week 3 re-aggravation, missed 6 weeks, right? Now we have Michael Penix mixed a week with the PCL and or bone bruise. He's going to miss some time, IR, and they may say, let's just park him the rest of the season. By the time he's ready to go, I mean, do we think the Falcons are in it? I think they're just going to protect him for next year.
What about Aaron Rodgers, Doc? The Pittsburgh Steelers got a big win against Cincinnati. They are going to fight to hold on to the top of that AFC North spot, despite what the odds think. Baltimore, is kind of inevitable in that way. How did you guys see the Aaron Rodgers injury with the hand?
Well, didn't see a lot. He just went down. There wasn't a lot of detail. It was blocked by his body as he went down and fell backwards. But when he left the game, our podcast that we do wrap up right afterwards at Sports Injury Central, I literally said, I don't see how non-throwing hand Aaron Rodgers doesn't return to that game, knowing how competitive that he is, without there being some sort of fracture. This was not a ligament. This is not a tear. There had to be some sort of fracture. And I get it, it's his non-throwing hand, but you still have to handle the ball and brace yourself for a fall and stretch plays to the right and left and ball security, etc. And that's why I think he's going to have a fracture. Then as we were wrapping up the podcast, we got the Schefter report of, quote, slight fracture. Now what I think he's going through is, if this fracture happened to you, Kevin, no offense, you would go into a cast and continue to do what you're doing. Very hard to play in a bulkier cast and be protected. I believe what they're going through now is, I get it's something that probably doesn't need surgery, but if we put a screw into it, does it give it more stability where Aaron Rodgers can now wear a smaller splint and have more function of the hand and more assurity of no further damage? That's the process he's going through now. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be ruled out for this week. My best guess is, as tough as he is, he may indeed have a screw put in surgery and then come back to play, missing only 1 week. We'll see. I don't know what exactly kind of fracture it is, but by circumstance and given my experience, it probably is a non-displaced scaphoid fracture, the small peanut-shaped bone at the wrist.
Doc, there's one more thing I want to ask you about. We really appreciate it. Again, SIXScore.com, everything that you need to go through all these injuries, and it only gets more valuable as the season goes on because more and more players get injured. Do you guys have early expectations for C.J. Stroud on Thursday Night Football?
We have no expectations for C.J. Stroud on Thursday Night Football. We have expectations for Davis Mills. We talked about that yesterday too. And think about this, Kevin. If you've been 2 weeks and you haven't gotten in a limited practice, and now you're 2 weeks and a day without a limited practice, how are you going to go to LP on Tuesday and full practice on Wednesday? Not going to happen, my friend.
It's a fair point. It's an unfortunate point, but it's a fair point and one that we were after. Doc, we appreciate it. The Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Great stuff, as always, there. Just going through, again, as the season goes on, there's more and more of this to work through. Let's work through some of the movement we saw yesterday across the National Football League here on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed the by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid, let's update your live board first as we are through the first quarter of a few of these games. The Clippers led 33-25 at the end of that opening quarter. That lead is still 8 right now into the second against the Sixers. James Harden more than leading the way. 17 first quarter points for James Harden, who has been absolutely brilliant for the Clippers. Despite some losing, Harden has not been where you're looking to point that finger. He had himself a 41-point triple-double against Dallas in an overtime win. He had a 37-7-8 game against Boston yesterday. He's up to 29, 7.5, and 9 right now in the month of November. James Harden has been playing great. We've got Paul George right now with 5 first-quarter points in his first game this season. At the end of the first quarter, Milwaukee actually holding a 7-point lead up against Cleveland. Giannis with 11, 4, and 4 may find himself with his first triple-double of the season with a great start in the matchup against Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell leading all scorers right now with 14. We've also played a quarter in Detroit. We are now at a double-digit Pistons lead early into the second quarter, 32-21. Jalen Duren with 10 and 5 early in that basketball game. We are just starting between Miami and New York, and we should very soon be getting underway with Toronto and Charlotte. In fact, I'm not entirely sure why that game has not tipped here, slated as a 7:30 start. No, it has, just my thing being a little slow to update. Raptors Hornets is underway as well. That's where things stand right now for the NBA. We mentioned the college card. NC State up 5 early on VCU, freshly ranked first time this season. NC State, number 25 in the country. If you are betting the ice tonight, we do have 5 of the 6 already in action. 2 apiece between Florida and Vancouver. That is in Florida. Buffalo up 1-0 on Edmonton. Same for Washington at home against the Kings. We are looking like it could be a scoreless first period between Boston and Carolina. That's where the live board stands right now. What about the futures market? There were a number of shifting numbers. Be better. There was a lot of movement, though, off of yesterday's results. It is probably the MVP market that I disagree with most. I am going to try, I mean this sincerely, put my ear to the ground and see how Stafford is being discussed in places following that win against Seattle. But I am, shocked that he became the MVP favorite off of a game he kind of barely outplayed Darnold. Under 5 yards per pass attempt. I know he had the 2 touchdowns. 45.5 QBR. The passer rating was all right. 15 of 28 for 130 yards. Very uninspiring. I mean, it is his worst game of the year, most likely. Again, I know 2 touchdowns, no picks. You'll take it. I get he's stacking on top of, some really good weeks where he threw 13 passing touchdowns in a 3-week window. I get it, I do, but that was the biggest game of the Rams season, and Stafford wasn't good. And that has actually sneaky been a trend for Stafford this year. His second worst game of the season was the collapse against the Eagles. He was pretty good against the Niners in that loss, but he wasn't flawless, I think we could say, in the matchup. 30 of 47 passing. It's just interesting right now. I would have to work through this a little bit more in my head of where my ballot would sit if the season ended today. But I think what's more important is it doesn't. And that's another reason that the Stafford price surprises me. You might try and say, look, it doesn't end today, so the last thing in voters' minds will be that they won the game, not that Stafford didn't look impressive doing it. And they're going to win a bunch of games. If you look at the remaining Rams schedule, they'll be booked as favorites in potentially all but one of their remaining games. At most, it would be 2, and that's not really likely. But I think Stafford, and people may find this unfair, I think there are still health questions that surround him a little bit. As until the season is over, I just think that's how it's going to be for Matthew Stafford. So I tend to think the Drake May number should be currently slated as the favorite, if not Josh Allen. Look, Josh Allen won last year's MVP. And it felt like that could maybe make winning this year's a little bit difficult. But Josh had an interesting path because the numbers weren't actually gaudy last year. He won that award on efficiency and basically record. Again, record always matters. And I think Buffalo probably has to catch New England in the division. They're plus 175 to win the AFC East. I don't think it's impossible. If I tell you right now Josh Allen wins the AFC East, he's the Super Bowl favorite. I know, some of you may already be out there with MVP tickets, but if not, and we're late November, Josh Allen's plus 450 now. That's not too far off where people were betting it before the season. And we get the chance to get in following a 6 total touchdown game. I'm interested. Look, I will tell people this, and there's no reason to hide it. I bet it and won it. I was hoping Jalen Hurts could win league MVP. And from a results perspective, he should be top 3. But Packers, Lions were moments, opportunities, primetime games, and the numbers weren't there. They just weren't. The touchdown to Devonta was good. You get a tush push on the board, it's good. It wasn't anywhere near enough. Last year, the number 1 seed in the AFC and the NFC, Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be, even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May? That's a triple threat match. I think I might like Josh Allen to win. We'll get your best bets on the way out right here on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away 2 of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, let's close it out on Monday night. Kevin Walsh with you right here. It is game time decisions. We've got in-game live coming up next. Scott Wetzel, Gabriel Morency will have you covered for Raiders-Cowboys in its entirety. Excited to see where they are looking for some value in this one tonight. I think we could have ourselves a really fun game between Dallas and Vegas, and I think some of the stars could shine as well. CeeDee Lamb, Brock Bowers, on either side of the plate. But you know where I am focused up on? Geno Smith. over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And look, I'll tell you right now, man, Tom and I can have our debates. Flatly, I think you can see it. I don't love someone coming on the show and telling me what I just said is irrelevant. But I also think that perhaps that's just a lack of understanding of maybe what we do as we look for bounce-back spots. If you want just this season, 7 of 9 quarterbacks playing Dallas have thrown multiple passing touchdowns. Geno Smith over 1.5 is as low as minus 104. You can get that at minus 110, minus 115, no problem. And it is going over against Dallas consistently this season. Nobody gives up more passing touchdowns than this football team. But we look at what Geno Smith has done this year. Off of his worst games, he has responded. We have seen that for Geno because Geno is not actually this bad. He did play some good football in Seattle, and he's had some good moments here as a Raider. He had no touchdowns against the Chargers. He had 3 in the following game and a passer rating of 132.7. He had no touchdowns against the Chiefs. He had 4 against the Jaguars and a passer rating of 117.9. This year, only once he had 0 and came back the next game and didn't get to 2. It was against the Titans. The Titans were so lifeless, the Raiders did nothing because they knew they didn't need to. It was 10-0 at half, 17-0 in the middle of the third quarter. The game, it was 20-3 with 4 minutes left in the fourth. It was a nothing game. But Geno Smith bouncing back is something we have seen throughout his time since returning as a starter. That is a trend on a player, and we're betting on a player. That's not irrelevant. That's what it is. I'm sorry if that doesn't click for some others. Maybe that's just a Tom thing, but if it doesn't click for you, I'm trying to make it click. When Geno Smith gives you his worst, his best is around the corner. Since Geno Smith has become a starting quarterback once again, he has had games of 0 13 times. In the next game, this will be the 13th time. In the next game, 10 of 12, he's thrown 2 touchdown passes, at least. And a handful of them, he's thrown 3 or 4. And Dallas has allowed 5 of 9 quarterbacks to throw 3 or more passing touchdowns against them, and multiple quarterbacks to throw 4. I want Geno to throw over 1.5. I bet him to throw 3. I bet him to throw 4. Rocket Ship City out here in Vegas. And if he's throwing 2 or 3 or 4, it means Brock Bowers is cashing 1, as that is a target player prop for us forever. Although, maybe that trend breaks if Brock doesn't do it. I don't think that happens. Jake Ferguson over the long catch is how Sam is going to look to button things up on the Dallas side of this game over the 14.5 at a minus 112 price. One other element of this game do keep your eye on is this Dallas defense and where do they struggle? Is there any success? Is there any improvement? Because next week they play Philly. That's a monster game, but it is also just trying to bet on Dallas rest of season. Is this Cowboys team, who's right now 3-5-1, right? So they trend is about a 6-win football team. Do they spend the rest of season playing like an 8 or 9 win football team? Maybe a 10-win football team? Is that within this Dallas group? Due to some of the moves that they made at the deadline, due to the fact that some of those moves have maybe inspired some of the guys, coaching staff included. It might be foolish, but they have confidence in you up top. Can you go out there and prove them right to a degree? I mean, truly, no, you can't. Dallas isn't making the playoff. Can you play good game to game? That starts tonight in Vegas. I cannot wait to watch this one play out. I think we've got a fun game set it up here on our hands. It's going to be in-game live, taking you through Raiders Cowboys next, right here on SportsGrid. We'll see you on Game Time Decisions tomorrow.